On today's project, we are replacing this battery tray on a Kubota L5030, but all the bolts connected to it are completely rusted out. So we're going to be using our GripEdge RPT Socket Extractor to remove them. Our RPT Socket Extractor is a straight cut non-taper design, and we're going to be starting with our 10mm size on this back bolt, which was not as eaten away as that front bolt. Hammering it on, but it's not going fully on there. So we're going to try it, but it's not fully engaged because there's a bunch of material there, and it was actually just a little bit too small for this fastener. It completely just falls off of there, but it does not chew it away like a twist socket would. It just falls off. Now we're going up a size here because we want to get full engagement. So we're hammering on an 11mm socket extractor, which is the perfect size. With our socket extractors, you want to ideally have the SAE and metric sizes because dealing with these rusted and rounded bolts, they're going to be rounded out to different sizes. So sometimes you might need to go down a size or up a size, but the 11mm socket seemed to be the perfect fit. So now we're going to put some down pressure on it and we loosen it up. So the 11mm size was the perfect size in this application. And once we get this out of here, we actually have a foreign object removal rod that you can thread into the back of the socket extractor to remove it. Once we get this out, now we're going to grab the foreign object removal rod. Just grab some pliers and a socket, tighten it down, and it will push it right out of there. When we look at this head, it is definitely eaten away. Now it is time to extract the one that was really damaged. That is not even a full bolt head. Starting with the 11mm socket extractor, since it worked on that other side, but it just doesn't seem to be engaging there. There's definitely not enough material for the 11mm to grab. The customer reported that battery acid poured on this tray, getting on the bolts, and that's the reason that these bolt heads are eaten away. You can see just how little material is left there. So we're actually going to go down to a 9mm, but we're going to need to make some more room here. Hammer away at this bracket here since it was in the way, and we're completely replacing this tray. We do not need it. And now we're going to grab the 9mm extractor here, line it up, and this one should work. So we get this on here, hammer it on. It seems to be engaging better, but this tray is a thin metal. It's not getting a full return compared to if this was on an engine block or something like that where we're getting a hard return on the hammer. But once we got this hammered on, put a socket over it, fell off the bolt head, so it must have not been fully engaged on there. We moved some extra rust dust away from it, and now we're going to try to rehammer this on, make sure that we get a full engagement here. Once we do this, we want to make sure we get this fully seated. We want it all the way down there. If we get that on there, do the same thing, it finally pops
there
loose.
We go.
That one was a sketchy one. It was really tight. You can just see how much dust is there. We're going to be using that foreign object removal rod. Get this out of here. How damaged that bolt head is. It was eaten away. It's like a half a bolt head here. So now we're going to go to these back two, where we're actually going to have to angle grind them off. There was barely any material left from all the rust, corrosion, and that battery acid. So once these last two bolts come off, this battery tray should just pop right off. But there's going to be the threads or the stud left from that bolt head. But we have two different methods. So you can either use our G-Force broken bolt extractor, or since this is basically like an engine stud that broke off, you can use our RPT socket extractor, as it is a great stud remover. So we're going to be hammering it on right onto these threads here, and this is going to allow us to get a good engagement. There was enough material here for this socket extractor to grab, put a socket over it, put it in the loosening position that it is starting to loosen up, and this was a really tight one. The front two were definitely tight, but these back two were a lot tighter. Probably just more corrosion there. So once we get this one out, we can use that foreign object removal rod, push that broken bolt right out of the extractor, and you can see the top to bottom engagement it has. That is its straight cut bi-directional design. And now we're going to go to that back one, do the same thing, hammer it on, and this one was just as rusted and corroded as that other one. And once we put it on the ratchet, loosen it up, we finally get this one loose as well, and we can finally replace this battery tray. The last step is we just have to use the foreign object removal rod, push that stud right out of the extractor. And this just goes to show you what should be a 15-minute job removing 4 bolts and a battery tray could turn into a 4-hour project trying to extract bolts. But here at GripEdge, we're all about saving you time with the proper and professional grade mechanic tools.